Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, good morning, Las Vegas. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro on a Monday. I hope everybody had the best weekend they could. Not a lot going on out there, but hopefully everybody stayed safe. We got a lot to get to, a lot to go over today. And, yeah, we're going to have Mayor Carolyn Goodman joining us live coming up in hour number 2 to talk about a lot of things, including her comments, her insane comments in regards to everything being shut down, in regards to the governor, in regards to Donald Trump's comments. In the press conference yesterday, Mayor Carolyn Goodman was brought up by the president, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So that's going to be coming up in hour number 2. Hour number 3, we're going to be hearing from a local Las Vegan who owns a business. He's struggling. Why has he been unable to get help from the government? So we'll be talking to him coming up in hour number 3 as well. Maybe even get a little bit of sports in there. But the first thing that I want to talk about, and by the way, Chris Wynn is joining us in studio.
What's up, gentlemen? I get a chance. It's Monday, so I get a chance to hog some of my airtime.
Absolutely.
For people out there, apparently.
Get your comments ready.
Yes.
Hey, did you actually say sports, Brian? Did I hear that word right?
Perhaps coming up in hour number 3. Well, the Last Dance.
I'm not sure I believe you.
Well, JD, think about it, right?
because you didn't watch it. Me and Chris watched it. The Michael Jordan
Think about
Last
it.
Dance.
Think about it, JD Sharp.
Yeah.
We actually have stuff going on this week when it comes to sports, right? You got the NFL draft on tap this Thursday. And, of course, there's a couple other things that we're going to talk about, of course, with the
yeah, but I want to talk
as
about
long as we can spend 12 minutes discussing wagering Call of Duty, I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to do that. Sorry to disappoint you. But here's something that I do want to talk about that I think is should be very important to all Americans. It certainly is important to me, and I've taken offense to it because it could affect my health and my life, and that is these protests that are going on throughout the country. And let me be very clear on it. You can disagree with Governor Sisolak. You could disagree with this shutdown. You can disagree with anything you want. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment, and it doesn't mean you have the right to put all of our lives at risk. Let me explain. There's something called social distancing. There's something called being asymptomatic. And when you go out there, it didn't just happen in Las Vegas. It happened everywhere. But I'll just focus on Las Vegas. To the morons who decided to go out there with your Trump signs and not practice social distancing, you are a reckless individual, selfish, and you don't care about the lives of other innocent Americans. There are reasons why we have these social distancing laws in place right now, the 6 feet rule. And don't you tell me that these protesters were practicing that, because the majority of them were not. Not to mention that throughout the country, there was a Confederate flag seen in Wisconsin. There were Nazi signs seen throughout the country. Don't tell me this wasn't political rallies, because at every single one of these rallies, you saw Trump signs. And don't tell me the President of the United States is not responsible for this, because he partially is. Remember when he said, liberate Michigan and several other states that happen to be run by Democratic governors. Here's what's so ironic, and the stupidity of some of these people that are out there protesting, putting our lives at risk. They're protesting the president's guidelines. They're protesting the administration's guidelines, and yet you have a Trump sign up there. Do you realize how stupid you are? If you're one of those people that protested over the weekend, forget about across the country. Let's just start right here in Las Vegas. You are an ignoramus. You are a moron, and I compare you to a drunk driver. And people always ask me, well, what's the comparison between that? Well, when you decide to get into your car drunk, you're not only risking your life, you're risking the lives of everyone else. You are playing Russian roulette with society. You don't know if you have the virus or not. If you're one of those people that has not been tested, how do you know 100% whether you have the virus inside of you or not? The answer is you don't. Reckless, going out there and protesting in front of, I think they said there were somewhere along the lines of 500 people that were protesting. You are putting other people's lives at risk. You are scum of the earth as far as I'm concerned. You are some of the dumbest people in society when you decide to leave your home, take your kids with you, show off your stupid little gun, and prance around with a Trump sign like everything's just fine. And here's another point I'd like to make. Do you think Governor Sisolak is sitting in his home or sitting in his office and he's saying to himself, you know what? Even though I've been listening to all those health professionals, I think I'm going to change my mind. You know what? I think I'm just going to change my mind, and I'm going to open up the strip because of those 200 or 300 idiots out there that are protesting. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just going to change my mind. If you think that's going to happen, you are the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. If you actually think Steve Sisolak is going to change his mind because of you idiots out there not practicing social distancing, protesting. This isn't about the First Amendment, so don't give me that crap that it is about the First Amendment. It's not. Yes, the First Amendment says you're allowed to protest. Not when you defy law and there is a pandemic. The First Amendment does not apply to this. So don't you give me that crap, and don't you tell me it's not a Trump rally, and don't you tell me that Donald Trump isn't partially responsible. He defended it the last several days, and he defended it again yesterday. I want to play you a little bit of the audio of some of these protests, particularly those from Channel 3 that took place in Las Vegas on Saturday. Have a listen to this report, and then maybe you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Despite the governor's stay-at-home order and pleas from health officials to practice social distancing, hundreds gathered at the Grant Sawyer building Saturday, carrying flags.
Freedom is what we want. Freedom is what we demand.
Displaying signs and standing close together.
Our voice of freedom is sounding loud today.
Showing their displeasure with Governor Sisolak's tactics to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus in Nevada.
Have you been on the Strip? Have you been on the Strip? It is boarded up. This guy has told people they are non-essential.
Many say the impact of shutting down all non-essential businesses has been devastating. They say they're out of work.
We're clearly going into a depression. It's obvious that this is going to make the economy suffer.
They say they're struggling to pay rent.
The city needs to open back up so these people can feed their families.
And worry their constitutional rights are threatened.
We don't need a nanny in the State House at all.
Sisolak has repeatedly stressed he will look to health professionals on when the state economy is safe to reopen. But for protesters here today,
this is ridiculous.
Everyone's on house arrest.
This guy, he told people on unemployment last night to be more patient. They don't have a check.
They say the time to declare Nevada open is now.
We got a great economy going in America. Leave it alone. Open it all back up.
What a bunch of dopes. Okay, what a bunch of dopes.
Some, not all, Brian.
I would say all, because if you are, and here's why I say all, JD, and here's why I completely disagree with you. Even if you're one of those people that is, not wearing a Trump, not having a Trump sign, and you're there because you think you're there for the right reasons. You're too dumb to understand. These people that showed up are too dumb to understand that if they're not practicing social distance, regardless of their reasons for being there, you are putting everybody else at risk. Why is that so hard for people to understand?
Well, and that's really only the case because a new study came out, and it was based on a government report that heat and hot weather and the sun does relatively quickly kill
There was a study in France that completely...
this came out 2 days ago, Brian.
And
I promise you.
this study came out a couple days ago also. They put everything in 140 degrees
This is
heat.
absolutely true, Brian.
What study are you referring
So
to?
if this is taking place...
Because I have a study that says the opposite
If
of
this
what
is
you
taking
just said.
place outdoors and not indoors, then the chance of the virus spreading, assuming social distancing is taking place and assuming masks are being worn, then the virus is not going to be spread outdoors. Now, that being said, there are 350,000 people in Nevada that are unemployed right now. The system's backed up 2 weeks. There's a lot of people that haven't got their checks, so I do understand that unemployment is probably going to hit nearly 25 to 30%.
And that's not an excuse to put people at risk.
Now, as far as having the conversation about the Strip isn't going to be open until 20 or 30 other states are open. But can local businesses be open? In my opinion, this particular protest took place too early. Okay. Now, if on May 1st, the quarantine is extended until June 1st or until May 15th or something along those lines, then I think a protest of sorts would be warranted. Okay, but I think this is because once the government made those guidelines, the 30-day guidelines, every single state was going to adhere to it, and so was Las Vegas, and so was Nevada.
Can I just add something real quick?
And we understand that.
There are researchers in France that have been doing this for many, many years, led by Remy Chirel and Boris Pastorino, who are very respected researchers and scientists, that said that this virus survived at 140-degree Fahrenheit temperatures typically used to disinfect research labs. So I'm going by this study, what you specifically just said, that this virus cannot survive high temperatures is not factually accurate. And I also would go one step further. Even if it was true what you just said, okay, it was 70 degrees over the weekend. And the idea that that might be true is not an excuse for people going out there in droves of hundreds, 500 people, and putting everybody at risk, even if what you were saying was true.
Well, and
it's
again,
irresponsible
Brian,
behavior.
we don't know how much the city is at risk. We know that Nevada has roughly 3,700 cases collectively. We know there's about 150 deaths collectively. We know that the positive testing rate is under 10%. The chance of there being asymptomatic cases in Nevada is a lot smaller than it is in a state like in New York
So just let
or
them not
Michigan
practice social
or New
distancing?
Jersey.
What's your point?
I'm just saying the chance of it spreading as fast as you think it's going to happen is pretty unlikely here in Las Vegas,
wasn't even talking
in Nevada,
about how fast it could spread.
in Nevada,
I wasn't talking
because of the
about that.
caseload and because of the lack of cases
Okay.
compared to the
You're
rest of the United States.
I don't think you're listening to what I'm saying.
I'm listening to
I'm
exactly
not,
what you're saying,
okay,
but
I'm not. Hold on a second.
You're
Hold on a second.
also referencing a French study. I had a French study, several French studies on hydroxychloroquine,
which involved
that
right.
you turned down
because you
multiple
misquoted
times.
it and you said 30 out of.
No,
Excuse me.
There was three different studies,
you
Brian.
said 30 out of. I remember when you quoted that France story. You said 30 out of 30 people were cured of the coronavirus. I corrected you and you got pissed off at me. I correct you when I think something you're saying is wrong, and I think you're wrong here. There is no sufficient evidence to prove that the coronavirus cannot survive in heat. And what I'm trying to tell you is, even if you were 100% right, and even if you're right about it's a low chance, it's a low chance. Even if it's a low chance, a 1% chance, a tenth of a percentage chance that somebody could have gotten the virus, it is wrong, and the behavior is irresponsible for protesters to go out there, many of whom I would imagine have not been tested, to go out there and put people's lives at risk.
Let me ask you this.
Period.
Do you think that those protesters, before Albertsons and Smith's and Vaughn's and Whole Foods and Costco implemented their social distancing, when this all started,
completely
all
irrelevant.
no, it's not.
Completely
no,
irrelevant.
do you think that those people in enclosed spaces, just when all this started, do you think the virus would spread more there than it would at a protest? Because I think it would, Brian.
Here's I'll answer your question.
I believe that the virus was going to be spread regardless. It's being spread in grocery stores. They're having conversations right now about shutting down grocery stores because, Brian, this virus
do you want me to answer your question?
Is going to run its course.
All right, go ahead.
And there really isn't much we can do about it at this point. But yeah, please answer my question.
Well, I can't answer your question if you keep talking over. I forget what you asked. First of all, let me put it to you in the simplest possible way I can, in the easiest terms I can. Again, even if you're right that it's, you can catch the virus in supermarkets, and there's a great chance. By the way, people are practicing social distancing in supermarkets, by the way. They weren't practicing social distancing at these protests. So you forget to mention that. But even if that was true.
Which is the major point, by the way.
It still doesn't make it right.
I'm saying they weren't initially. They weren't for weeks initially.
Yes,
that all started probably 10 days ago or 12 days ago.
I got to chime in here because you guys aren't breaking down the fundamental argument here between both sides. The fundamental argument that you guys just bantered about for 5 minutes on is that there are some people out there who are practicing social distancing, who are listening to the science, who are paying attention to the people who are public health officials, who are in the know, okay, as far as this virus and what it's about. And then there are people like the protesters out there, a very small number, of course, the people. It's not like it's the majority of people that are out there protesting, saying that we should open up society. That's not the case. It's a very small number of people who are going and listening to AKA the President of the United States and others who just want to open up society for whatever reason that they have. And there's a number of reasons that they say. They say, well, I'm going to lose my job, right? Or I think this is overblown. They have reasons, but the reasons are not justified. And they're not based in science. They're not based in fact. They're based on their personal feelings. And you guys are debating back and forth and talking about numbers here and numbers there. It's not the fundamental. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the argument. It's one side who's basing it on science and fact, and it's another side basing it on economics, okay, and what they believe. And that's the fundamental issue that we have.
I would say it's the exact opposite.
Issue.
We don't understand when the virus got here. We don't know the mortality rate. All that is all a guess. But we do know how many jobs are lost.
What is posing
we
that
do know
question
how many
have to do with
businesses being
anything,
shut down.
though?
We do know Neiman Marcus is about to go into bankruptcy. We do understand.
What does Neiman Marcus have to
I don't
do with
understand
it?
what
It's one of many. It's one of many businesses right now that are being adversely affected by this particular virus.
we know that.
in Las Vegas.
We know that.
But JD, you posed the question. We don't know when this virus got here. What
You're
does
right.
that
We
que-
don't.
What
We
does that
absolutely
question
don't.
have to do with anything?
Because
what does that question have to do with the debate that we're having
because
right
we
now?
don't understand what the actual mortality rate is.
No, we don't know exactly when.
Chris,
it got
we don't know if it's 0.05%. We don't know if it's 2.0%. We don't know if it's 1.0%.
But pointing out what we don't know, what does that solve?
We have absolutely no idea how deadly this virus is. But we're acting like this is almost as deadly as the Spanish flu. When the fact of the matter is, we truly don't know because we've been working with incomplete data since day one.
We're acting like it's more deadly.
Let's go with that.
And misinformation
let me chime in.
from China as well.
Let's go with what you just said. You said a lot of we don't knows.
Yes.
So your answer to a lot of the we don't knows is let's just go back to normal. Let the protesters go out there, not do social distancing. Let's reopen everything. Because we don't have all the we don't knows, you don't think we should take a little bit more time and wait until we know a little bit more?
I'm talking about states like Nevada.
And I'm talking
not
about
states,
the protests.
not states like New York, not states like New Jersey.
So different states have to be open and others aren't.
Not states like Michigan.
Okay, so
obviously, yes.
Can I ask you a question?
States like Texas, states like Wyoming.
I want to ask you a
no
question.
sense.
How does that make no sense, Chris?
Okay, let's go back to what happened on Thursday, right? The United States government has put forth a 3-phase plan, right, to reopen the country. Okay, so are we going to have one state that's at phase 3 and another state that's at phase 1 and another state that's at phase? Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. We do live in a country, right, where we don't have borders.
That's the entire point.
So people are going to be able to bounce and forth from one state to another.
But the states are sovereign. The states make their own decisions.
JD,
the same reason why Donald Trump didn't implement a nationwide lockdown. That's the same reason why Donald Trump cannot decide when the states open up because the states have their own governors. The states are sovereign.
Think about what you're saying for a second.
I'm
thinking clearly about what I'm saying.
Hold on. I think you're thinking about as clearly as the president is thinking. Yes. But let's just go to that.
And the president's wrong too, by the way, on this.
You're going to have one state that is pretty much back to normal in phase 3, and then it is very possible that you have a border with another state that is barely getting through phase 1, and there's no borders that are saying you can't go from state to state. So you could have infected people going to a different state, abiding by different rules.
Exactly.
To any scientist or doctor that is logical, it makes absolutely no sense.
Then by that logic, then Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx, who put together those phases, are not logical.
No, they didn't put together.
They did. They did.
This is a
those guidelines were
not
based.
Not just those two, though.
Yes.
Everybody on the response team is what was in on this. As well as the Trump administration.
As far as the science goes, Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Birx put together those guidelines. So you're telling me, you've been touting Fauci for 3 weeks. You're telling me that Fauci doesn't know what he's talking about?
First of all.
You don't think that he factored that into the conversation initially?
All right, first of
all.
You
actually do you think that he's not thinking about that particular element of what's going on? Because I guarantee you he is.
First of all, when you use the term tout.
Tout, yeah.
Okay, well, here's something I haven't done, okay? I haven't used the economy and money over the doctor's opinions on whether it's safe to be out there. I haven't touted Donald Trump and politicians. You know what I've done? I've said it consistently since day one, and I'm going to say it again for you right now. I would rather listen to the doctors and the experts, now whether that's Fauci or the experts, than listen to any politician or an economist. That's number one. Number two, Fauci yesterday said if we reopen any states, if we reopen them too soon, it could be a disastrous effect on this country. That is a quote from Dr. Fauci yesterday. So, no, I don't personally believe that he's going to have a bunch of these states together, one in phase 1 and one in phase 3. I don't think that's going to happen.
It's not his decision. That's why the Constitution
then why are you talking about
is in place.
If it's not
because
his decision,
because they came up with the guidelines, Brian.
Right.
The states will make their own decisions predicated on the guidelines that they came up with.
And I think that's very dangerous, just like we have in Florida, that Nimrod governor in Florida that has opened up the beaches, which is absolutely absurd. And I call all you protesters across the country idiots, morons. You care more about holding up your Donald Trump sign in Las Vegas saying F you to Sisolak than the health and the security of the people in this country. You are selfish, you are disgusting, and you have no brain. And whether you're on unemployment or not. And by the way, unemployment benefits, I understand this isn't perfect. I understand that, this website isn't working great for people. But a lot of the people that I know are getting their unemployment checks and they're able to survive. Now, maybe that's not true for all. That's fine. But is that an excuse because you don't have any money to go down and protest and put other people's health and lives at risk?
Again,
the answer is no.
It's not just money. When you don't have a job, you don't have health insurance. You have stress.
So if you don't
in
have
your
health
daily
insurance,
life.
maybe put yourself at risk for getting coronavirus. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, there's so many different things you have to factor in,
that
Brian.
Makes a lot of sense.
That come with losing your job.
I don't have medical benefits, so I think I'm going to put myself at risk and maybe get the coronavirus. Boy, that makes a lot of sense.
Hey, Brian and JD, let me pose a very simple question to both of you, and I want an honest answer from both of you, okay? If the mayor of Jacksonville, right, and DeSantis by default, because DeSantis is the governor of Florida, if they feel that they can open up a Jacksonville beach, right, then why not open up all the beaches in Florida? Why not open up all the beaches across the country? I pose that question to you guys, seriously, both of you.
Idiotic.
Why? No, I'm asking you because the beaches are open in Jacksonville right now. So why wouldn't you? Why, if you're going to use the rationale, right, that it's okay to have Jacksonville beach open, why not open up every beach in Florida and by extension every beach in the United States of America? I pose that question to both of you.
That question is the reason why I say the rationale of opening up any beaches is idiotic. It makes absolutely no sense. It puts people in harm's way. Those people that are on those beaches are not practicing social distancing. It is idiotic and is ridiculous. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We have a little more audio to play for you. What does Donald Trump think about these protests? Well, we have some new audio to play for you. It's why I say he's partially responsible for this. But I am going to open up the phone lines. What do you think about these protesters? You have no problem with people gathering in droves in the hundreds, 500 people, not practicing social distancing, holding up their Trump signs, in some situations holding up Confederate flags and Nazi signs throughout the country? What do you think about that? The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you want to be part of this conversation, we'll try to get to as many calls as we can on the other side of the break. That number, 702-257-5396. Do you casually not have an issue with this? Are you okay with people protesting and not practicing social distancing, even though the experts are saying, no, that can't happen? It's the president's own guidelines in his administration that says you need to practice social distancing. Your thoughts on that? We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. Back, it is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. I know we got a lot of people waiting on hold. We'll get your calls here in just a moment. Sit tight, folks. My opinion hasn't changed. I truly believe all these people that are protesting, not just in Vegas, but throughout the country, are a bunch of morons and selfish idiots that are putting our health at risk. I want to go to a Trump advisor, speaking of idiots, his name is Stephen Moore. I want you to listen to what he compared these protesters to. It is some of the most disgusting verbiage I've ever heard in my life. Listen to this. This is Trump advisor, and I know Trump only hires the best. Stephen Moore, ladies and gentlemen, here he is.
We're going to see a lot more of those. In Ohio, we saw more protests today. I'm working with a group in Wisconsin that wants to do a drive-in. So, you remember the old sit-ins, but this is going to be a drive-in. They're going to shut down the Capitol. Shh, don't tell anybody. But they think they can get 1,500 people to come in. And this is great. You guys will. So we have one big donor in Wisconsin. I'm not going to mention his name. And I told him about this. He said, Steve, I promise I will pay the bail and legal fees for anyone who gets arrested. So this is a great time, gentlemen and ladies, for civil disobedience. We need to be the Rosa Parks here and protest against these government injustices.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump advisor Stephen Moore just compared Rosa Parks to some of these protesters. It is one of the dumbest, and by the way, I can name you quite a few, one of the dumbest comments that anybody in Donald Trump's cabinet has made. JD, you can't possibly defend that statement.
He said we need to be the Rosa Parks here. Like, we need to be like Rosa Parks.
Yeah, and he made the reference to some of these protesters and getting out there and protesting.
What are they protesting?
So you're comparing it. You think it's okay?
I'm asking what they're protesting.
And I'm asking you, are you okay with that statement?
They want America to open back up. They want their jobs back. They want their lives back.
You're comparing that to African Americans and the atrocities.
They think this is an overreaction. I'm saying he said we need to be like Rosa Parks.
So he's comparing coronavirus to slavery.
Rosa Parks protested, right? He's just saying there's two
African Americans that weren't allowed to sit on certain parts of the bus.
I'm not comparing it to anything.
And I'm asking you,
I'm just saying they're both protesters.
So you're comparing the two.
Rosa Parks was a protester.
All right.
And these protesters who are protesting to get the country back open and their jobs back are also protesters. Are they on the same level? Obviously, with the type of protest, of course not. No, that's a different animal. But you're taking it way out of context here. All he's saying is we need to be like Rosa Parks.
I used his own words.
There was no context.
We need to be the Rosa Parks here, which means we need to be like Rosa Parks.
It's an atrocious
and protest, which is exactly what's going on.
There's been no shortage whatsoever of idiotic things that Stephen Moore has said. Okay, look, the guy has some smarts when it comes to economic sides of things. I don't question that. I don't want to call it expertise, but he's well versed in that.
Outrageous.
But when it comes to statements like this, there's no way that you can possibly defend it.
Yeah, idiotic. Why don't we compare Martin Luther King to Donald Trump while we're at it? Donald Trump was, by the way, asked Friday about what he thought about these protests, and anybody who had any leadership qualities at all would put his own feelings aside and say, listen, we need to practice social distancing, yada, yada, yada. Here was Trump's response.
I believe that was yesterday.
Here was Trump's response in regards to these protesters. Have a listen to this.
No, these are people expressing their views. I see where they are, and I see the way they're working. They seem to be very responsible people to me, but it's, they've been treated a little bit rough.
So his definition of responsible are people that are not abiding by his own administration's guidelines. Mr. President, that makes complete sense. The number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Let's start off with Peter. Peter, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Peter?
Yeah, Brian, JD. Hey, listen, in response to all the elderly who are dying in care facilities that I heard on the news this morning, listen, before I go any further, don't shoot the messenger. Just mentioning this. So have you been pacing the floor lately, waiting for that inheritance check to show up in the mail, thinking, damn, you just can't kill these old broads? Well, now you might be a good time.
Are you really making a joke? Excuse me. Are you making a joke about the elderly dying of the coronavirus?
We just said don't shoot the messenger, but what is your message? Is this your message? I don't understand the reason why you went behind that.
Why are you starting off this call making a joke about the elderly passing away? Can you please explain that to all the listeners?
Well, no, I'm not making a joke. I'm just.
Yes, you are. You are. You're talking about trying to wait for an inheritance check. Because somebody in your family, that's in reference to somebody in your family, you're waiting for them to die. That's not funny, sir. Were you one of the protesters out there?
For their unemployment check and their.
So you want to compare waiting on your unemployment check to somebody dying? Check? What is wrong with you? Were you one of those people protesting? You sound like it.
Well, everyone's waiting for some kind of check, isn't it?
All right. Well, I'm waiting for you to make your point. You have 5 seconds. I'm waiting for you to make your point. You have 5 seconds, or I'm going to the next caller. Go.
Okay.
Okay, goodbye. Have a nice day. Have a nice day, sir. Thank you for that wonderful joke about the elderly passing away. What a disgrace you are.
Not a great call.
I think I saw that guy protesting yesterday. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Hey, how are you guys? Listen, Brian, my question, you mentioned something about heat.
Yes.
I was just asking, do you order takeout and stuff like that? I mean, have you ordered takeout?
No, I mean I cook morning, lunch, and dinner. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's good. You're a smart man. So do I. Okay, with the part of them not keeping distance while protesting, no common sense. Okay, it's partly common sense and partly trust. So the trust issue is I don't trust the takeout, but you mentioned heat too. And I gave in one day and got a pizza, and I thought, oh crap, I hope I don't catch anything, because you don't know who's wearing gloves, but then again, you don't know how high the heat should be before it kills the virus.
Okay, but here's what we do know. Here's what we do know, Ron, and you can comment on this. Here's what we do know. Your president and my president, Donald Trump, okay, his guidelines specifically don't say anything about not ordering takeout food. What it does say is that you have to practice social distancing, which is 6 feet apart, and do not gather more than 10 people. So every single person across the country that had their little MAGA signs are disobeying the laws and the regulations and the advice of the president and his administration. You would agree with that, right?
Yes, absolutely. I just told you that I agree that was dumb. No common sense with the protesters. If they wanted to protest, they didn't even show that they were responsible enough to keep distance from each other.
Right.
So
right.
You can't get what you want. I mean, if you can't show.
Well, it's selfish, Ron.
Either.
Ron, I'm sure you would agree. It's selfish. You're putting other people's lives at risk. These people are buffoons, and they think they're patriots. They're an opposite of it. You know who the real patriots are? The nurses, the doctors, the police officers, those in the front lines, and the really good Americans out there, that are practicing social distance and they're in quarantine. Those are the patriots. These people are the opposite.
Absolutely, Brian. But I have to agree somewhat with you and somewhat with JD, because if we can't learn a responsibility, we're going to crash everything. The depression right now in this country is just utterly terrible.
Well, of course it's terrible, Ron. But Ron,
and Nevada's about to have the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression,
and we have our
of any state, because our 80% of our economy depends on tourism, and tourists not only can they not go to their own favorite businesses, but they can't even get on an airplane and go anywhere. I mean, they can't go. They can't travel anywhere. They can't come to Las Vegas.
I can't reiterate this enough, guy. And to call Ron, and to JD. I mean, look, we are all in this together. It's not as if just the protesters out there are the ones that are dealing with this. Okay, all of us in this country are dealing with this. All of us. Okay, and by the way, I'm the one that speaks the truth about this most that's on this show right now, because I'm only a part-time person. I'm a very appreciative, a contributor and co-host here at the Vegas Take.
Right.
But I am one of those people, okay, that works my regular job on the Las Vegas Strip. Okay, so I can weigh in on this and say and speak for thousands of people who say, hey, we all are in this boat. We all want to be able to open up society, okay? But the fact of the matter is this. There are people out there protesting, and those people out there protesting, I'm going to add on to what Brian and JD, what you guys are talking about, as far as the protesters, as far as breaking laws or, disobeying orders. Let me tell you something. Those people are doing that. They also are disrespecting what we have been doing for over 5 weeks here in Las Vegas and across the country when it comes to social distancing and stay-at-home orders. It is absolutely making it irrelevant what we've been doing for 5 weeks.
And Chris, let me ask you this, though. I mean, you work for...
I work for a restaurant on the Strip.
Yeah, but for Sands, though, right?
No, I work for a private company. I work for a private company that has a restaurant bar in a Las Vegas casino.
And your company...
there's a number of people like us.
And your company has chosen to pay you for X amount of weeks.
No, they have not. Look, my personal situation financially is neither here nor there.
I'm just saying, if it was a situation where you were furloughed and you were waiting on a check,
JD,
and it was backed up 2 to 3 weeks, I feel like your tone would be a lot different than it is now, Chris.
It's not about my personal tone, JD. It's about the situation that we all, as Las Vegans, all of us as Nevadans, and all of us as Americans are in right now. We're all in the same situation. And look, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, and I know that we have time constraints.
This is kind of a
but
tangent.
This is something, okay, that should not be – it shouldn't be political. It shouldn't even be political. It has nothing to do with Republican and Democrat, because we're all in this together.
Tell Jeremy
and we're
Diamond.
all under the same type of situation. And you're going to bring up one reporter, okay, one reporter in a press
Tell
conference.
Paula Reed.
Okay. So
tell Jonathan Carl.
So people
I
from
can keep going,
the
bro.
mainstream media.
Tell you Michelle Cinder.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into that now. We're gonna get into the weeds there on as far as the press conferences, JD. Really about how the reporters are being agitating towards the president, and the president is doing a great job. And because we can get into that, I know we can, and we're about to probably on the show. Look, here's the thing. We're all in the same situation.
Here's the thing. We got a full
Democrat.
board. I need to get to the phone calls. Is it okay with you guys if we get back to the phone calls?
Absolutely.
I just want to make my point, Brian.
I understand that,
100%.
but we can't go on 10-minute tangents.
Honestly,
both
Chris,
of
you made a very good point.
All right, 702-25, and I don't want to. As much as I would love to.
Yes, I did.
As much as I would love to talk about Chris Wynn's financial situation for 3 hours, I do want to get to the phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Scott. Scott, you're next on the Vegas Take. See, Scott, it's your fault, Chris.
Are you saying that Chris, you saying it's scared away?
It's your fault.
Hey, Brian.
I'm furloughed, bro.
Quick tangent, Brian, but why?
Can we go back to the phone calls?
If this
go to another tangent. That's great.
It's very quick. It's very quick.
Yeah,
and it's
we'll
just a
lose
question.
some more callers. Go
now,
ahead.
if this virus does survive in heat, why is it not ravaging Africa?
All right, there's no credible evidence that the heat or the temperature anywhere has anything to do with disseminating this virus, right, or destroying this virus. There's no evidence. So can you please, the callers as well as others, please stop talking about that? It's not true.
All right, 702-257-5396. Scott is back. Scott, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Scott?
Hey, I'm kind of with JD on the social distancing, because a lot of the retailers and stuff, it's about a week and a half since they really started cracking down.
Right, exactly.
And, before that, there was a limited number of places the population here in Vegas could shop. The entire community was shopping at Costco and Walmart and Sam's Club, and we're all in there shoulder to shoulder, bumping elbows.
Not true.
No, very true. Brian, there was a line at Costco, 1,140 people long at one point, and they were like maybe 1 foot away from each other.
Okay, so
you had 10 to 20,000 people going through these stores every single day, and this virus sticks to the bottom of your shoe.
Go ahead, Chris. Respond to that.
Okay, to the caller,
Hold on,
and
caller.
to both JD and Brian, are we not expected to exercise social distancing guidelines in stores? I don't care if it's Walmart, Costco, Smith's, Walgreens. Isn't that the expectation, is that we're supposed to be exercising social distancing?
But
Brian, yes.
What the caller is saying
doesn't make any sense.
What the caller is saying is that did not start until a couple weeks ago.
It's been in place for over 5 weeks, right?
Social distancing.
The actual. I'm talking the actual. When you walk into Target, there's a sticker that says 6 feet. On the loudspeaker, they're telling you stay within 6 feet.
Let me respond.
They're closing early. You go to Albertsons, they've got a maximum occupancy of 150. All that just started 2 weeks ago. There was 3 weeks before that where there was nothing like that taking place.
5 weeks ago, the president and his administration and all these governors put in place very strict social distancing guidelines. Now, do I doubt that there are some situations where maybe some people are behaving irresponsibly in some of these supermarkets or at Costco? Sure, I'm sure that happens. But that is not an excuse for somebody like that doofus who just called in and said, let's just, I don't understand it. People aren't practicing social distancing here, so let's just open everything up. Let's forget about social distancing.
What doofus?
It is ridiculous.
What doofus?
The point that he was trying to make, that last call,
Why is he? All he's saying is that for several weeks, none of this stuff was taking place, and the virus.
Not true. That's
yes,
not true.
it is. It is
no,
true.
it's not.
It is true,
Oh,
Brian.
so you're in every supermarket in Las Vegas.
I experienced it myself.
You're in every Costco in Las Vegas.
Not every single one.
Because in a couple of Costcos, you saw a couple of people not practicing social distance.
For 3
so you know what everybody's doing?
weeks straight, when everybody was very, very close to each other. Now,
this is so irresponsible.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
The last 2 weeks, it has been different. But there was 3 weeks there where it was not.
For 5 weeks, it's been implemented. The social distancing.
Brian.
So
it
because
is not.
a couple people
it
in
has
Costco
not.
aren't practicing it,
Brian,
you should just open everything up.
We literally
That's
have.
insane.
You don't even know what you're talking about right
no,
now.
I know exactly what I'm talking
you're
about.
literally just screaming about nothing.
Oh, right.
The
really.
first
I'm
time,
screaming about nothing.
Brian, the first
day.
time we had this conversation in this place, I said, then why are there not limits to grocery stores? 50 to 100 people every single hour.
So
I made that statement myself. What I'm saying is, Brian, every single person in here went to the grocery store, at least once a week when all this started?
Well, you get to the
I'm saying the entire city was going to the grocery store when this first started. So if the virus was going to spread through the grocery store, if the virus was going to spread, it was going to happen then. What I'm saying is I think the virus has already spread because we didn't have
the virus has
strict.
Already spread.
Yes, I absolutely do.
So you think we should just open everything up?
I think a lot of Las Vegas has antibodies to the virus.
Okay.
I think the virus got here a long time ago.
All right, doctor. So let me ask
you.
No,
I'm saying look at the entire West Coast. Don't call me a doctor.
Well, you're talking like a doctor.
No, California's
cases. Do you know
cases.
anything about antibodies? Do you know
California's cases are 29,000.
What do you know about
New York's cases are 280,000 right now. There's 10 times the cases in California or in New York than California.
What the hell do you know about antibodies?
You got to admit, JD, you do talk like a doctor sometimes.
I'm just explaining what's going on. I'm explaining the statistical differences predicated on the geographics of the country. That's all I'm doing.
I don't want to argue and yell.
And it's offending Brian.
No,
it's offending Brian.
It offends me when you talk about things and I don't think you have any idea what the hell you're talking about. That's what offends me.
What are you talking about?
There are people people's lives at stake, and you have been undermining this virus for a month.
I have not been undermining anything.
Have.
No, I have not.
Really? You're not?
No.
So you don't think we should open up?
I'm
talking about antibodies. You have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I'm not.
You just brought up antibodies.
Yeah, I'm saying an antibody. Do you know what that is, Brian?
Yes, I do know
what is it.
But you know what I won't say?
What?
I won't say that there are people in Nevada and the virus is gone.
That means that you got the virus. We'll call it in January or December.
How do you know who got the virus in the state?
And you got over the virus. So your body builds antibodies to the virus, which is the whole point of the antibody test.
How do you know?
That's why all these different.
You don't even let me talk.
Well, you're asking me. I just answer your question, Brian.
Okay,
all I'm saying is New York City. Look at New York City. Look at New York. Look at the entire state. 290,000 cases. Look at California, 30,000 cases. New York has the population divided by 2.
Okay, I want to get back to the
But they have 10 times the cases. I believe the virus got here in early winter. It spread through the West Coast, and a lot of Las Vegas has it. I actually think that, yes.
Doctor believes that. Okay,
I didn't say I was a doctor.
Let me ask the doctor another question. Do you know how many people in the state of Nevada have those antibodies? Do you have any idea how many people have either had the coronavirus that haven't been tested or have antibodies? Do you have any clue what that number is?
I said no, obviously.
Okay.
How would I?
So why are we talking about it then?
I'm saying that I think that the virus got here early.
You think?
A lot of people had it. I experienced something like the virus myself back in January, which I went over on the show several times.
I'm going to tell you something. I think it's very dangerous to abide by the rules and regulations of people that think like you that are not doctors. 702.
Well, Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx thought there would be 2.2 million people that died of this virus.
If we didn't practice social
there's going to be maybe 60,000 people that die of this virus, and 22 million are going to be unemployed, Brian. And that's going to translate to so many more deaths and so much more carnage economically and personally than the death toll would ever translate to.
Let's go back to the calls. 702-257-5396. Max, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Max?
Mr. Shapiro is...
Thank you for the call, Max. We appreciate it. 702-257-5396.
Max, that's a great call.
Who's our next caller? Let's go to Deacon. Deacon, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Deacon?
Hey, guys, did you watch that? There's a video on YouTube by Dr. Fauci that he had the thing went back in, 6 years for Wuhan laboratory, giving out money to check on the coronavirus. Did you watch that, Brian?
No, I didn't watch it. I haven't. But I do have a feeling. I have a feeling you watch InfoWars every day. I do have that feeling.
No, actually, the United States has been giving money to that virus for a long time, Brian.
Yeah,
Anthony Fauci is very aware of what takes place there.
Mm-hmm. You watched that video on YouTube, but Dr. Fauci, about 5 years ago, your boy Obama.
Not my boy Obama. Did I vote? Excuse me, sir. Now you just said something ignorant. All right, pod this guy down. Don't hang up on him, but pod him down. Okay, dumbass. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. Okay? So when you say your boy, Barack Obama, you sound like a dummy. That's number one. Number two, I voted for Mitt Romney. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. So when you say Barack Obama's your boy, you sound like an idiot. So when I pod you back up, would you like to rephrase that, and then I will allow you to make your stupid point about Fauci? Would you like to retract it by saying Obama is my boy? Because you have no idea what my opinions are, Barack Obama. You just assume because I don't like Donald Trump, I must be an Obama lover. So would you like to start over with this phone call, sir?
Yeah, he didn't vote, by the way.
Would you like to start over with the phone call, sir? Yeah, what a shocker. He's gone. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I cannot stand people who bring up Barack Obama and say, your boy Obama, just because I don't like Donald Trump. It's absurd. Let's go to Paul. Paul, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Paul?
Yeah, well, you may not like this either, but for Brian, I'm just shocked that you even get out of bed in the morning with all the risks once you get out of bed that you face, from being a pedestrian to driving in a car to everything else.
So you're comparing driving in a car to not practicing social distance in a protest. Is that what you're doing, sir?
0.5% of the population has passed. That's terrible.
That's not true. That's an incorrect. First of all, that's an incorrect stat. Second of all, you're comparing protesters and people not practicing social distance to people getting in their car and waking up in the morning. It is an ignorant analogy. Would you like to say anything else?
Wait, what's the incorrect stat? Brian, one in 1,000 in the state have this virus right now, Brian. One in 1,000.
Paul, I didn't hear what you said. Go ahead.
It's a month has passed. It's time.
A month has passed. It's time. Okay, Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul.
Paycheck, sir. You continue to get.
So for the people that are not, so Paul, your argument is because people are not getting paychecks, we should open up. Don't worry about.
No,
excuse me. Hold on. You don't think the doctors and the you don't even think no, I'll tell you who I'm considering. Certainly not people like you. I'm considering the doctors and the health professionals when they deem it healthy and safe for us to be out there. That's who I'm listening to, sir. I'm not going by people that are getting
the doctors and the health officials are not thinking about the economy at the same time.
No, they're thinking about our lives.
You have to think about minimizing. I've said this literally 50 times. You have to think about minimizing deaths, minimizing economical damage, and maintaining country morale.
Yep, you're thinking about money, and I'm thinking about lives.
I'm thinking about everything combined.
No, you're not thinking about lives.
Of course I am, Brian.
No, you're not.
400,000 people unemployed in Las Vegas or in Nevada will lead to significantly more deaths than 140.
No.
Yes, it will.
No.
It absolutely will.
You know what you're...
It 1,000% will. Yes, it will.
You know what your comparison to Trump is? I'll tell you what your comparison...
When you lose your job, you lose a lot.
I'll tell you what, it's sad.
And not only that, you lose your job, and you're sitting at home.
It's sad.
You're drinking, or maybe you have a substance abuse problem, which is 22 million people in the United States. No, I'm saying that's part of it.
Okay, well, here's another.
There's people right now that are at home that used to have a job, that used to have drug tests for their job, that can't go to a meeting, that sit at home. They're getting paid by the government to sit at home, and they're using that money most likely to relapse on drugs. A lot of that is taking place, Brian. There's a lot of mental angst as well that comes with losing your job. There's a lot of relationship stress that comes with losing your job. Do you have any kids? If you had 2 kids at home, I'm sure you'd be thinking something different as well, Brian. You have to factor that in. Now your kids can't go to school.
Can I comment now? Thank you. Here's a similarity that you have with Donald Trump, and it's sad that I have to say this because every day when I come on this show, I talk about the over 40,000 people that have died. Let me finish. I know you're ready to interrupt me again.
That number is wrong.
There he goes, interrupting me again. Let's see if we can go 30 seconds with me not being interrupted if I say something that he doesn't like. Something that Donald Trump does that I notice that you do as well. Yeah, you talk about the economy. You talk about money. You talk about the unemployed. You know what I like talking about? And it's sad that I have to talk about this.
Lives.
There you go again. I'm talking about the innocent people that have lost their lives and the families that are mourning. And all you want to do is you want to bring up the economy and you want to bring up drug addiction and you want to bring up let's bring our country back. But something the president didn't do yesterday that Vice President Mike Pence had to do. You know what he did? Thoughts and prayers for those who have lost their lives and the families of loved ones. We forget about that, and I think you forget about that.
Trump does that every
Didn't
single
do it yesterday.
press conference,
No, he doesn't.
Brian.
You're absolutely wrong.
He does not.
He does that every single
Mike
press
Pence,
conference.
In fact, the
he
Vice President
talks about the
is usually the one that steps
He talks
in,
about
JD.
the virus. He talks about all the damage that has been caused and everything.
JD, so
he does it every single press conference,
JD,
Brian.
so you think Donald Trump shows empathy and actually does mention those that have passed away and mentions the fact that we passed 40,000 deaths yesterday?
I've never
because that is absolutely false.
I've never
Donald
endorsed.
Trump never does that.
I've never endorsed his consistent empathy, but one empathetic situation.
There's no such thing
I know.
as
I'm saying I've never. I've never.
There's no such thing as inconsistent empathy.
You didn't hear me. I said I didn't. I've never endorsed his consistent empathy. You didn't hear me, Chris. Don't react unless you actually hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
That being said, last
week,
last week, I'm saying he's not a generally empathetic person across the board. He isn't, and I admit that.
That's obvious.
Okay, fine.
All right.
So now you can pat yourself on the back. That'll make you happy.
So
that being said, last week he did say the hardest day of his life was when he found out, or when he was under the impression that the United States did not have enough ventilators.
I remember that, and
that was empathetic,
but
Chris.
JD, let's be honest, that's Donald Trump off the cuff. That's not his. It's not like he hardcore means that.
All right, I got to take a break. Coming up next, I'd like to continue to comment on this, but we'll have more time in hour number 2. Coming up next, the mayor of Las Vegas, Carolyn Goodman. Why is she calling some of Sisolak's decisions insane? We're going to ask her that coming up next live. It's Mayor Carolyn Goodman right here on the Vegas Take.